Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for The Egg Collector, released in 1940. It's the 294th in the series and it's directed by Chuck Jones. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Looney Tunes Mouse Chronicles Blu-ray set. It might also be available on streaming, sort of on and off. It's on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves choose to upload it on their own channel, as it is a copyrighted short. But in case you haven't seen this one, Sniffles reads a book on egg collecting, and the book says, an easy egg to collect is one from a barn owl, as a barn owl is harmless. Well, not to rodents, but Sniffles for whatever reason doesn't realize that he's classed as a rodent. So he does find an egg, and it hatches. But then, Father Owl returns. So in this review, I'm going to go through the short from start to finish and go through some trivia and some tidbits. And a lot of what's been covered regarding Sniffles, I actually already covered in Sniffles Takes a Trip, where you got to watch this short in the context of its time, where it's understandable you might not find this haha funny. This is definitely in vein of what Disney were doing, or at least that's what Chuck Jones thought Disney was doing, and he was approaching his shorts in such a manner. So that's why these shorts look more polished and, quite frankly, more gorgeous looking than what the other units were doing at the time, whereas the other units were more focused on the humor. So what Tex Avery was doing, Bob Clampett, and so on, Jones was focusing more on getting his shorts to look really, really good. And that's not to say there's no humor in these, but it's humor in the vein of what Disney had done in a lot of their shorts. So this is the 5th Sniffles short, so by now you would think Jones has settled into the character, this is what he wants to do, and it'll be in a few more shorts where Jones would actually change the character, changing him from this really cutesy mouse into a real blabbermouse type character. Not little blabbermouse, that's a different character, but a character that just blabbers on, kind of like me. And this is also the second of 3 Sniffles shorts released in 1940. So he definitely went all in before he was told to basically knock it off and start making some funny cartoons. It's also the second appearance of the bookworm, and I like the idea of the bookworm where he doesn't speak, he just reacts to what Sniffles does, and that makes things more effective than Sniffles having to break the fourth wall and narrate his journey. Like, I would think that the bookworm could have been a good addition to Sniffles Takes a Trip, where it's just Sniffles up against the elements, but maybe bookworm could have been there just to interact with him, kind of thing. But anyway, it's just a minor thing I've just realized. But here, it's a definitely good idea for Sniffles to have a character to interact against. But this short also redoes an element of an earlier Sniffles short, Little Brother Rat, where that one involves a scavenger hunt, so he gets a cat whisker in the beginning, and then later on he is tasked with getting an owl egg, and he encounters a parent owl in that one. So it's very similar here, except here he's doing it because he wants to start collecting eggs for reasons, whereas over there he's just trying to win a party game. But it's still a similar idea. But yeah, if you want to know more about my thoughts on Sniffles in general, definitely check out Sniffles Takes a Trip, as that one's a little bit more in-depth in terms of the history of Chuck Jones around this period of time. But let's look at this short, and unfortunately it's only available restored in a Blue Ribbon reissue. Apparently the original titles are out there somewhere, someone might have it, but oh well, it's more about the cartoon really as far as I'm concerned, but hopefully one day it'll come to light so we can see what it looks like. But as for the vocal credits, we have Margaret Hiltebold. She's still doing Sniffles at this point, the ultra cutesy version of the character, before she gets replaced later on once Sniffles changes into a real, well, blabbermouse. And Mel Blanc does the owl, and that's pretty unmistakable. So as the short opens, we've got this beautiful pan over to the book, so inside a bookstore after hours, and we see a book on egg collecting. Now, I just wanted to put that into a little bit of perspective, because you might be wondering, why on earth would there be anything about egg collecting? What is that all about? Well, some of this is actually new to me too. I had to look it up because I was wondering the same thing, but it was actually a very popular hobby, and egg collecting was popular even up until the early 20th century. So it's in the same way how people might collect comics or baseball cards. People would collect and trade certain birds' eggs, and the rarer there are, the more sought after they were. So replace signed baseball cards with an egg of a rare bird and you'll get the general idea. And I'm reading here, and this was actually pretty interesting, one person was willing to have his teeth broken to remove a rare egg that became stuck in his mouth. So that was yeah, some people go through extremes. I mean, these days an extreme thing would be sleeping outside a convention for a few days to get a rare comic book. But anyway, so kids, this is what people did before online gaming, yeah? Now, either sat around a fireplace, reading a book, listening to the radio, or they went out and hunted for rare eggs. Now, a lot of the practice is illegal now, and I know that is the case in Australia especially, and a few other countries. So, yeah, you can't really do kind of the hobby. I mean, maybe broken shells, you can sort of collect those, but in terms of whole eggs, that's a big no-no. And the reason should be pretty obvious, but yeah, that's what all of this is about. And we see Sniffles read the book in a scene that, okay, takes a whole minute to go through. So again, it's slow. What do you expect? This is early Chuck Jones. Okay, I'm not going to get into that again. But you'll notice as Sniffles is reading through that he gets ultra cute when he tries to read etc. as ect or whatever the sound he makes. I guess it's just to show how cute he is, I suppose. And he then wonders, what's a rodent?
The barn owl lives in old houses, barns, church lofts. It is a harmless creature, feeding mainly on small rodents. What's a rodent?
Now, the bookworm, not being true to his name, doesn't know what a rodent is, and you see Sniffles saying, golly gee, I really wish I had one of those eggs. I guess this short is going to test your tolerance for ultra cuteness, yeah? But it is what it is.
Golly, I'd certainly like to amateur collect one of those beautiful eggs. Golly, if I only knew where one of those old barn owls lived.
But he has no idea how to find the barn owl, so the bookworm's like, yeah, I know. And hey, I love the acting of the bookworm because, of course, he doesn't speak, and the animation acting is still top-notch. So there's still a lot of good things about this short, even if this may not become one of your favorite, not just Chuck Jones shorts, but shorts in general.
You mean you really know where there's an owl's nest? Well, what are we waiting for? Come on.
And your tolerance for pacing might be tested here too. Now, there's no doubt that a lot of this looks beautiful, and the music that plays in the background is superb as well. In fact, there's only one musical cue, and that's a Frédéric Chopin piece. But the bookworm points out that, yes, there's an owl that would be in a church that's across the road, and we spend a long time, about a minute and a half, just basically going through the church. And this is something that Jones would stop doing because at the end of the day, we don't need to see all of these shots of them actually going in. Maybe just entering the beginning and then them arriving at the roof, because that's all you need to know. It is a short cartoon after all. But there's a lot of great animation acting in the whole bit of them actually reaching to their destination. So there is that. And I love in this restoration, you can see a lot of the details of this darkened church where everyone's obviously gone to sleep for the night. We do get a slight hint of the things to come with the bookworm going up a little bit too far, realizing he's gone up too far on this rope, and then he looks left and right really quickly in a rather speedily fashion, and that's something that Jones would thankfully take on in his future shorts.
What's the matter with you anyhow? You're not scared, are you?
So the bookworm is showing that he's really scared. He grabs onto Sniffles and so on. And Sniffles says, "You're not afraid, are you?" And that's an interesting contrast to Sniffles Takes a Trip, where he gets pretty much scared as soon as things get dark. So I guess this is a kind of a continuity thing. Highly doubt it, but anyway. So Sniffles says, "You go this way, I'll go this way," and the bookworm just continues on the same direction as Sniffles, but Sniffles ends up finding the egg in a beautifully crafted crib saying Junior. Hey, it looks nice at least, and Sniffles is all happy. And we are halfway through the short and we finally found the egg. You just know that if Jones redid a short like this later on, he would have found the egg probably in the first minute or so, but that's okay. It just shows you how different things were for Jones at this point in time versus later on. But in a bit of a twist, we see that the egg had already hatched, and we see that a baby owl is in there looking pretty cute, I have to say. I do like the look of it. But now we cut over to the bookworm who's still going backwards and ends up encountering Father Owl. I love that imposing shot of the Father Owl, and you can see the gleam in the eye as well, which is a nice added touch. So we see a gag here that you just know Chuck Jones put in the back of his mind, because he will do similar things later on in the Roadrunner shorts and other similar shorts, where you have the bookworm pulling out a couple of feathers, much to the annoyance of the father, but then he ends up realizing that, hey, I shouldn't have done that, and puts the feather back in. Now, there's no massive payoff here or anything, but it's interesting to see that this is one way to do that kind of gag, but then Jones will do it much better later on. So it's interesting that Sniffles ends up taking the egg with the chick inside. I mean, he could have just taken the egg and left the chick there. But again, with egg collecting at the time, you needed the whole egg. So, for better or worse, that's what it was, okay? So Sniffles ends up encountering the bookworm, not realizing the Father Owl is there, and the bookworm's all sweaty, and I like that added touch there. And Sniffles just is absolutely oblivious, saying, hey, I've got the owl egg, I've got the owl egg. And we see the Father Owl is about to speak, and I love Mel Blanc's voice for this Father Owl. It's just so perfect. And I love the interaction between the owl and Sniffles here, just the way that Mel Blanc would say, it is, and he would just act all funny, and then Sniffles acts all confident, saying, hey, I got that owl from that big stupid nincompoop and whatnot, and just seeing the owl's reaction to that is really good.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a little owl in it, too.
There is? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and I just walked right in and took it right out from under the nose of that stupid old owl.
Stupid old owl?
Yeah, a big, fat, stupid, old, dumb nincompoop. That's what he is.
But the best reaction of this short, and probably the funniest thing in this short, I have to say, is Sniffles' reaction once he realizes that the bookworm can't talk. Kind of weird, but anyway. And he realizes that, oh, it's this big, stupid owl that's behind him that's actually doing the talking. It's one of those gags that's really unintentionally funny, but, oh well, gave me a chuckle at least. But yeah, Sniffles' reaction here, it's done pretty well, all things considered.
Wait a minute. You can't talk, can you?
And the owl now has to educate Sniffles that he is a rodent. And I love the line delivery of, what did you think you were, a cow?
That's a nice, healthy way for a rodent to talk.
A rodent? You mean I'm a rodent?
What do you think you are, Sonny? A cow?
But yeah, there's a few chuckles in this one, I have to say. And even the bookworm, who had just fainted, comes to, but then the owl says, oh, I also eat worms too, ends up fainting as well. At least the animation, again, is nice here, even if it's not particularly funny. But I do like the shot of the owl going forward, and it looks as though he's about to get either Sniffles or the bookworm when his, I'm assuming it's a son, okay, I don't know if it's a son or daughter, but whatever, pops out from the egg. So I wonder, did he even know that he hatched before? Must be a very quiet owl, but anyway. Sniffles and bookworm now think, oh yeah, he's distracted, let's leave. So after the Father Owl plays with his child for a bit, he goes, all right, now I'm going to get you, and Sniffles and bookworm, in stark contrast to the very beginning where everything was so slow to get up to the actual attic where the owl is, they go backwards really fast. Again, this is a sign of things to come for Chuck, and Sniffles and bookworm are so strong that they even make silhouettes as they smash through the door. So yeah, again, it's interesting to watch these earlier shorts to see where Chuck was at this time and compare it to what he would become later on. But what he does stop doing later on are endings like this, where you've got the bookworm coming to, he looks up and sees the owl and freaks out again. But as we would have guessed, It's just a picture of the owl. The bookworm goes to Sniffles. Sniffles is not happy, and for some reason, the bookworm's glasses ends up on Sniffles, and Sniffles' hat ends up on the bookworm. And it's supposed to be this really cutesy kind of ending because we just finished there and that's it. I'm pretty sure there'd be a better punchline to all of this, but oh well, it is what it is. Look, as for the short, in terms of my ranking, see, I can't bring myself to hating this. Yeah, it's incredibly slow, and it's not particularly funny, but at the same time, I don't think it's badly made. I mean, if we're comparing it to a Looney Tunes short that we know and love, especially of Chuck Jones's later works, of course, this is going to pale in comparison, but when taken as it is, it's just a cutesy story. It looks really good. The artistry is all there. There's some lovely animation. Love the music, and some of the vocal delivery is pretty good too. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd say maybe 6.5 out of 10, I think is fair for this one. It's not a particularly great short, but I don't think it's particularly bad either. It's just different than the usual Looney Tunes fare. But let me know in the comments what you think about this one. But in terms of Sniffles' output, I think this is definitely one of the lesser ones. In any case, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.